between uh, different groups. We have administrative problems like political interference, then lack of motivation and interest. They act as hurdles on the way to rural development in India. So, but in spite of all these hurdles, NGOs, they keep on working for rural development in India. And NGOs selectively utilize the local talent, train the individuals, and they use this for rural development. But the complete success of the rural development actually depends upon the willingness and active participation of rural people in the development processes and efforts. Okay. In operational context, the major issues facing by the NGOs are the lack of qualified individuals who would like to work in the rural areas. Then another major problem that NGOs are facing in India is their dependency upon government funds or external donations, which I have said. So with these dependencies, NGOs are less flexible in carrying their task, right? And then as economic, if we talk about the major role seen for NGOs in rural development, as economic reform and liberalization saw the government vacating several areas to let private sector entrepreneurship flourish and also to contribute to the high growth rate of the economy in recent years. A similar paradigm shift is needed to transform NGOs from the dependence on aids and grants and from within and outside, for transforming the rural scenario in the country. So this is sought to be achieved for the NGOs through engaging them, let's say in microfinance or micro insurance. And we have this micro entrepreneurship activities for the overall development of the rural areas and also to promote the welfare of the people of rural area. Okay. See, as NGOs get finance generated through their own activities, the credibility vastly improves and the services to rural people gets reinforced. Right. And then we have several NGOs who have, they take active participation in rural development. The rural poor and socially depressed classes are mainly depending upon the operations of NGOs here. So they are mostly dependent. So no particular job is particularly meant for the NGOs. So thus there is a huge competition among the NGOs to extend the services for the benefits of the poor. And at the same time, we should not forget this mushrooming of the NGOs for their welfare. Like there are some important activities which NGOs have taken up for the development of the rural community. We have agricultural related programs, right? Numerous activities can be undertaken in the agricultural sector, right? The jobs projects like distributing or planting materials. We have cattle, poultry, irrigation. Then there are free medical care for cattle, safe drinking water, all these things, right? So major rural development programs of the NGOs were agricultural programs, then health programs, then human resource development programs, community development, and industrial and trade programs. So majority of the beneficiaries and non-beneficiaries, workers of the NGOs and workers of other development agencies, they considered rural development works of the NGOs as effective for rural development. And there have been many studies which reveal that the NGOs can play a vital role in the development. So the role of state in the planning process, political parties, then active participation of grassroots organizations, and then there are role of donor agencies, etc., are important for ensuring people participation and also for the socio-economic development of the people. Then we have programs like poverty eradication, healthcare, sanitation, environmental protection. Then there are protection of human rights, empowerment of women, child, and also other weaker sections, right? So there are some of the important goals of NGOs. So NGOs functions are based on, including villages, socio-economic changes, health and sanitary condition, the economic security, education, and also the status of self-employment, then increase in irrigated area, animal resources, cropping intensity. So increase in the yield of crops under, the programs and changes in crop management practices. So all these things are the areas where the NGOs are functioning And also they're pointing that what they are expecting is a radical social change through voluntary effort is a kind, it looks like a kind of a daydreaming, and but it's, and it's true that the positive attitudes towards NGOs also contribute for its growing role in the development process. So in this way, the NGOs can bring the awareness among the poor rural people. It is also the need of the society as well as the nation to make these rural areas and people competent to be aware about their fundamental rights. So NGOs are the only organizations that could make the rural area more developed. Right. So there are in the textbooks also they have given many NGOs, many which have been working towards the development of the people. So you can go through those NGOs and you can cite them as the case study. The role of NGOs is also one of the important questions as per examination point of view. Role of NGOs in rural development. Okay.
Yeah.
Any doubts here?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
Okay. So please have a look on some of the NGOs for case studies. Okay. There are many governmental NGOs. Nanhi Kali, we have Cry Child Rights, which are dedicated exclusively for children, women, and other communities. So go through those case studies. If we have time later in the last class, we'll discuss the case studies. So now we'll move to the Gandhian approach to rural development. So is it clear about NGOs, right? Shall we move ahead?
Yes, madam, please go ahead.
Okay. So see, in the Indian context, rural development may be defined as maximizing production in agriculture and allied activities in the rural areas, including the development of rural industries. So with emphasis on village and cottage industries, right? So it attaches importance to the generation of maximum possible employment opportunities in rural areas, especially for the weaker sections of the community, so as to enable them to improve the standard of living. So provision of certain basic amenities like drinking water, electricity, especially for the productive purpose, and then like irrigation facilities, etc. Then also linking roads connecting villages to market centers, and also it facilities for health and education. All this figure prominently in the scheme of rural development. So theoretically, a Gandhian approach to rural development may be labeled as idealist because it attaches supreme importance to moral values and it gives primacy to moral values over material conditions. The Gandhians believe that the source of moral values in general lies in religion and Hindu scriptures like the Upanishads and the Gita in particular. Okay, so the concept of Ramrajya is the basis of Gandhiji's idea of an ideal social order. Okay. See, Gandhi defined Ramrajya as sovereignty of the people based on moral authority. So he did not view Rama as a king and people as his subjects, right? The Ramrajya concept. So in the Gandhian scheme, Rama stood for God or God or like one's own inner voice. And Gandhi believed in a democratic social order in which people are supreme. So their supremacy is, however, not absolute. That means it is subject to moral values. So this is the concept of Ramrajya which Gandhians believed. Right. So what is the concept of ideal village? Concept of ideal village, what could be a concept of ideal village? See, the village is the basic unit of the Gandhian ideal social order. That means Gandhi pointed out that if the village perishes, India will perish too. So we have to make a choice between India of the villages, that is as ancient as India, or the India of the cities, which are creation of foreign domination. So this was the concept coined by Gandhiji for ideal village. So Gandhi's ideal village belongs to the pre-British period, when Indian villages were supposed to constitute the federation of self-governing autonomous republics, right? So according to Gandhiji, this federation will be brought about not by coercion or compulsion, but by the voluntary offer of every village republic to join such a federation. That means the work of the central authority will only be to coordinate the work of different village republics and to supervise and manage things of common interest. As we have this, what are the common interests, like education, basic industries, health, then banking facilities, right? So the central authority will have no power to enforce its decision on village republics, except the moral pressure or the, let's say, the power of persuasion. Here, the economic system and transport system introduced by the British have destroyed the republican character of the villages. So Gandhiji, however, admitted that in olden times, oppression were in fact practiced by feudal chiefs, like, but odds were even. Today, the odds are heavy. It is more demoralizing. In this way, see, in the Gandhian scheme of things, the ancient republic and Indian village without exploitation serves as a model unit to follow of an ideal village. So he brought in the concept of decentralization, because Gandhiji firmly believes that village republics can be built only through decentralization of social and political power. See, in such a system, decision-making power will be vested in the village panchayat rather than in the state and the national capital. So here the representatives would be elected by all adults for a fixed period of 5 years, and the elected representatives would constitute a council called the panchayat. So the panchayat exercises legislative, executive, and judicial functions, and it would look after education, health, and sanitation of the village. And it would be the panchayat's responsibility to protect and uplift untouchables and other poor people. And the resources for Gandhian approach to managing village affairs would be raised from the villages. So all the conflicts and disputes would be resolved within the village here. And as far as possible, not a single case is to be referred to courts outside the village. And then the panchayat would play its role in propagating the importance of moral and spiritual values among the ruralities for bringing about rural reconstruction. So apart from managing its own affairs, the village would also be capable of defending itself against any invasion, right? A non-violent peace brigade of volunteers would be organized to defend the village. And this corps would be different from the usual military formation. And they would repose the utmost faith in non-violence and God. So this was the idea given by Gandhiji. Then there was also a concept of self-sufficiency. See, such a decentralized polity implies a decentralized economy, right? So it can be attained only through self-sufficiency at the village level. So the village should be self-sufficient as far as its basic needs like food, clothing, and other necessities are concerned. So the village has to import certain things which it cannot produce in the village, right? They have to produce more of what they can in order thereby to obtain in exchange where they are unable to produce. So the village should produce food crops and cotton in order to meet its requirements. And some land should also be earmarked for cattle and for a playground for adults and children. So if some land is still available, it should be used for growing useful cash crops like we have like tobacco and other resources to enable the village to get in exchange things which it does not produce. And the village economy should be planned with a view to providing full employment to all the adults of the village, where each man should be guaranteed employment to enable him to meet his basic needs in the village itself, so that he is not forced to migrate to towns. So in the ultimate analysis, full employment should be linked with equality here. And then physical labor also occupies a central place in the Gandhian concept of the self-sufficient village. Because in this respect, he was highly influenced by, Ruskin and Tolstoy. What he told was, according to Gandhi, each man must do physical labor to earn his bread, because physical labor is necessary for moral discipline and also for the sound development of the mind. So according to him, intellectual labor is only for one's own satisfaction and one should not demand payment for it. Okay. So the needs of the body must be supplied by the body. Gandhi said this. If he said that if all labored for the bread, then there would be enough food and enough leisure for all, right? So Gandhiji recognized toil to be a curse for the, he thought that this toil should not be a curse for the joyfulness of the business life, because it has the power to make a man healthier, merrier, fitter, and kindlier. These were the words spoken by Gandhiji on this concept. And then Gandhiji also maintained that industrialization would help only a few and would also lead to concentration of economic power. He was of the view that industrialization leads to passive or active exploitation of the villages here, because it encourages competition. Then large scale production requires marketing, right? And marketing means profit seeking through an exploitative mechanism, right? So moreover, industrialization replaces manpower and hence it adds to unemployment gradually. So in a country like India, where millions of laborers in the villages not get work for even even 6 months or in a year, industrialization will only not only increase the unemployment scenario, but it will also force the laborers to migrate to urban areas. So what will it do? This will in turn ruin the villages. So in order to avoid such a catastrophe, villages and the cottage industries should be revived here, because they provide employment to meet the needs of the villagers, and it also facilitate a village self-sufficiency. Because Gandhians are not against machine per se if it meets two aims, that is the self-sufficiency and full employment. So according to Gandhiji, there would be no objection to villagers using even the modern machines and tools that they could make and could afford to use. So only they should not be used as means of exploitations of others. That means you have to take care of the employment aspect here. Okay. And then Gandhiji was not against the institution of private property, the trusteeship, but he wanted to restrict the right of private property to what was necessary to yield an honorable livelihood. Right? For the excess, he prescribed the principle of trusteeship. See, Gandhiji emphasized the principle of trusteeship in social and economic affairs, because he firmly believed that all social property should be held in trust. So the capitalists would take care not only of themselves, but also of others. So some of their surplus wealth would be used for the rest of the society, right? The poor workers under trusteeship, they would consider the capitalists as their benefactors, and they would also repose faith in their noble intentions. So Gandhiji felt that if such a trusteeship were established, the welfare of the workers would increase and the clash between the workers and the employers would be avoided here. So trusteeship would help considerably in realizing a state of equality. So Gandhiji firmly believed that land should not be owned by any individual, and land belongs to according to him, the land belongs to God. So hence individual ownership of land should be banned. So for that, a landlord or a landowner should be persuaded to become a trustee of his land. That means a caretaker. So he should be convinced that the land he owns does not belong to him. Land belongs to the community and it must be used for the welfare of the community. So they are merely trustees. Trustees, in the sense, they are the caretaker of that particular land, which is to be used by the entire community. So by persuasion, the heart of landlords or the landowners should be changed and they should be induced to donate their land voluntarily. And then if the landowners do not oblige and continue to exploit the poor workers, the latter should organize non-violent or non-cooperation. Then we had this civil disobedience struggles against them. So Gandhiji rightly held the view that no person can amass wealth without the cooperation, willing or force to the people concerned. So if this knowledge of Gandhiji were to penetrate and spread amongst the poor, they would become strong and learn how to free themselves from the crushing inequalities which have pushed them to the verge of starvation now. But the oppressed should not take recourse to violent methods. Okay, you should follow the non-violent methods. So in the Gandhian scheme of things, the principles of cooperation, love, and service is most important, and violence has to be banned. Violence has no place in it. Violence is against the moral values, and civilized society is inconceivable in the absence of moral values. So that Gandhiji's concept of development is oriented to the uplift of the common man. So he preferred village habitats to and Swadeshi crafts to imported technology for the economic well-being of the common man, and he stressed the need for cottage industries in place of gigantic industries, and also he advocated for a decentralized economy instead of a centralized one. And he realized the need for integrated rural development and believed that education, health, and vocation should be properly integrated here. So he emphasized the need for education and training, which he called new training. And it is to be done for the reconstruction of rural development. So in fine, Gandhian approach to rural development, it strives to reconstruct village republics, which would be non-violent, self-governed, and self-sufficient, so as far as the basic necessities of ruralities are concerned. So apart from creating a new socio-economic order, it endeavors to transform the villages. Okay. So are you clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Gandhian's approach. Okay. So basically, you can cite the concept of non-violence for the moral values. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So what are the elements of rural communication as we have discussed so far in all these classes? See, the rural elements of rural communication has to be studied. So in order to understand how the rural communication pattern would work, how the rural communication programs should be designed. So first thing is there are large number of heterogeneous, scattered, and unknown audiences, right? And then the common message through the use of mechanical and electronic media, that has to be taken care of. Then there has to be rapid and continuous dissemination. And then you can use of modern technology, and also you have there should be instant feedback. Direct feedback is not available, but it should be made available. The program should be customized in such a manner. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you understand by extension communication? We have been dealing with rural communication. What is extension communication according to you, according to your understanding?
The advancement of the the communication network.
Yeah, like going beyond the common basic communication, right? Like going beyond the communication. Yeah.
Going beyond the general communication system.
Yeah. So in order to empower the people.
Yes. Yes.
Like providing, how do we empower people?
By like by giving them new methods.
Yeah. By providing them skills.
Yes.
Yeah. Training them. For example, see, this is mostly widely used in agricultural communication also, extension communication. Like if you're explaining a farmer about, for example, if a scientist has invented a new method of farming, then there's no need for the government or for the scientists to go and explain the farmers. You and me, can go and explain them in a simple manner. That is extension communication. we can step ahead and do this, right? The farming needs can be explained in a better and simple manner, simplifying it.
Okay.
So here communication in extension is a two-way process involving the source and the receiver. That is, the information and idea must flow from the receiver to the sender of message and vice versa here. Because the communicator must communicate ideas, it should collect facts relative to the subject matter which are accurate, fast and appropriate, so that they can understand in a, the receiver can understand in a better manner. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. So talking about the elements of extension communication. So in the context of agricultural and rural development extension, they here change agent is the communicator who starts the process of communication. So the extension worker and mass media here, like the radio, are sometimes visualized as source of originators of message, right? Which is, this is, sometimes it's not correct. Here, not only the media, even people can, we have this influencers, right? Opinion leaders, they can play a key role. Knowledge generates through research, and as such, the research institutes can take up research projects and they can step in here. Because agricultural universities are the originators of source of message, right? In terms of agricultural communication here. If the extension workers obtains the required information from research, and if it carries it to the audience, that is, audience would be the farmers here in the context of agriculture. So to enhance the process, he may take the help of some aids, like known as audio-visual aids. He can also carries back the reactions of the farmers, their problems, etc. Because as feedback information to research for finding out solutions for the same. They can go back to those agricultural universities who are doing the research, and they can act as a mediator. Extension communicators act as a mediator between the source and the receiver here. So the credibility of the communicator and the organization he represents is important for effective communication here. So credibility means trustworthiness and competence, right? So before the audience accepts any message, they will judge whether communicator and the organization can be relied on, and whether it is competent enough to give them the required information, right?
Right.
So who tells is therefore very important in extension communication. So there are some, characteristics of a good communicator of an extension communication. So some of these are, see, a good communicator should know his objectives, right? He should have them specifically defined. He should know his audiences, their needs, interests, their abilities, right? And that he should also be thorough with the message. What is its content, the validity, the usefulness, or the importance of the content. Then the channels that will reach the audiences and their usefulness, right? The medium is the message. We say that the medium is the message, right? So he should be thorough. He should know which channel is suitable for dissemination of messages. Then he should know how to organize and treat his message in an effective manner. And also, lastly, his professional abilities and limitations also should be should define. And also, we can also see whether he's interested in his audience and its welfare, the message, and how, whether he's interested in the message and how it can help people. He should be able to, he should have that ability to redefine the message. He should be that creative enough. So the results of communication and their evaluation also. Just dissemination of information and providing the feedback is not enough, right? Evaluation study should also be there. You should have the knowledge of that. And you should be thorough with the communication process. And here the extension communicator should be, well aware of the communication channels, the proper use and the limitations, and how to improve his communication skills in order to befit the audiences, right? And also he should prepare a plan for communication, right? Especially a teaching plan, because you just don't have to inform the people there. You have to teach them. if they are farmer, you have to teach them the farming, right, techniques. So you should also prepare communication materials and equipments to deal with the farmers. Then a plan for evaluation of results, as I said, evaluation study. And then he should also be very much skilled in selecting messages, then treating the messages, expressing messages, whether it can be in a verbal form or written form. Then here the selection and the use of channels, then you should understand the audience and also should collect evidence of results. Okay. So poor communicators, on the other hand, see, if they fail to have ideas to present that are really useful to the audience, then they will, if you are not properly equipped, you will fail to give the complete story and show its relationship to the problems. And if you're not taking down notes, then you could also forget the time and the energy are needed to absorb the material presented. So feel you have the communicators also, they should never feel they are always clearly understood. You should not have that, overconfidence. Then they should not talk while, others are not listening. So you have to have audience understanding here. Okay. So these are the some attributes or characteristics of a good extension communicator. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So any examples you would like to give apart from farming, agriculture and farming? Extension communication can be used in other sectors as well, right? What are the other sectors where we can use extension communication?
In teaching field, madam?
Yeah, in education, very good.
Yes.
And what are the other things where you can teach people?
In that matter, actually, everywhere, actually.
Training and skills in employment sector as well.
Employment sector, yes.
Yeah. Advisory services also can be given.
Yes, like PR, public representative.
Yeah. The ground expertise in development, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And how to set up their own, if they want to set up their own startup, that can also be given to youth. Extension communication can be extended in that area. Basic hygiene, health also.
Healthcare.
Yeah, healthcare sector. So proper research is required here, right? Before providing services of extension communication. So this requires a deep understanding of the science behind the technologies we are transferring to the new users, the capacity to find, appraise, and use the evidence, and the skills to communicate with both specialist and non-specialist audiences here. Audiences are the people, the community you are targeting.
Resources, actually.
Yes, the people, the particular section of people. The audiences are the segmented audiences, right? Farmer. Why we are talking about agriculture in particular? Because
rural.
Yeah, it's rural. Rural scenario, agriculture is needed because agriculture is the need of the hour, and then we have fertilizers, improved seed fertilizers, facilities. All these things have to be taught to the farmers.
Yeah. One example I could quote towards this agriculture training, that is ICRISAT. ICRISAT is something, they do research as well as they communicate the same thing to the farmers. I saw there are many kind of exhibitions and kind of the knowledge has been shared. One example.
Okay, so they are into research.
Yes. They are into research as well as they educate the farmers about the cultivation, how better they can be used.
Yes, and they also carry their research, right, to this. They have the field officers who visit these rural areas with their research findings, right? To, for a pre-test kind of a thing.
Yes.
Yes, so that is a very good example. In fact, you can cite this example in your examination as well, because apart from ICRISAT, we have agriculture universities. You are aware
agriculture
of
university, yes, madam. We have in Rajendra Nagar Agriculture University.
Yes, they are also into research, right? farming research in farming sector?
I'm not sure about the research, but research is I know here, but that is agriculture university.
Yeah, they undergo research.
Wonderful.
Yeah. So this is also one of the example you can cite. Then see, extension communication takes many forms, including face-to-face meetings. Then they have newsletters, websites, social medias, and videos also here.
Yeah, we have here methods of exhibitions, visual aids, training and business.
Yes. Exhibition.
Mass media extensions.
Yeah.
One, they are the Krishi Vignan Kendra.
Yes. They are also one of the organizations. That is also one of a good case study. The case studies, if we have time, we'll be discussing in the last class. So that's why I'm not dealing with the case studies right now, because let's see if time permits.
Sure.
Yeah, that's what the extension needs to use a variety of communication methods to reach as many people as possible. As you said, the exhibition is also one of them, one among them, right? Extension. So the extension is available to everyone regardless of the location. That's why we have this social media, right? Website, social media, videos also we have now. Yeah, there are several websites also. So extension workers must also be able to manage and train their staff, and they also need skills to manage the day-to-day operations of their office as well. So here the purpose of communication is to get your message across to others.
Others, yeah.
Right?
Right, ma'am.
Yeah. So there are, in your textbook, they have given you so many case studies, right? Examples.
Yes, case studies, 7 point.
Yes. So that also you can go through those case studies. But there are some barriers also to extension communication. See, social factors such as age, gender, socioeconomic status.
Literacy.
Yeah, literacy. And in fact, marital status also can act as a barrier to communication in certain situations.
True, ma'am.
Yeah, according to the mindset of the rural community.
Yes,
these are some of the social factors of barriers.
Yes.
So see, written communication also is a very important form in agricultural extension system, because this type of communication can take different forms, because we have in written form, we have memorandum reports, right? We have letters, bulletins, newsletters, newspapers, and farm magazines also we have now. We have handbills, right?
Yeah.
So this type of written communication is also very important in agricultural extension system communication, apart from face-to-face.
Yes. Also, there are a few other examples like we were discussing in the previous classes. Video, television programs.
Television programs. Yes. Videos.
Yes.
Yeah. So extension is a process of working with rural people in order to improve their livelihoods, right? This is the main aim.
Yeah, basic definition.
Basically. So this, and we are particularly targeting the farming sector. So this involves helping farmers to improve the productivity of their agriculture and also developing their abilities to direct their own future development.
True.
So you can cite agriculture community as a main example for your extension communication question here. And of course, there are also some strategies, right? Extension communication activity strategies, like they would lead to the formation of positive perception of people, of groups, of people. They can receive counseling messages also. It's common strategies for counseling. So positive perception is able to make the recipient of the counseling message to be moved, to make the expected attitude change. Here, counseling plays an important role, and it's very important extension communication strategy. So counseling is also one important strategy in extension communication. Counseling.
Yeah, important.
If you counsel the particular community, let's say farmers, and then you after that, if they receive the messages after counseling, and then you expose the message to them, then they will be in a better position to accept, right?
Yes.
That particular message, and we can also expect some attitude change if you do a counseling and then if you expose them to the messages.
Correct.
Okay.
So brief explanation before we circulate.
Yeah, some counseling.
Some counseling.
before exposing, because they may reluctant to accept. As I said, there are so many barriers. Yeah. So first you have to counsel them, and then you have to expose them to the final messages. So at least we can expect some, some percentage, at least 5 to 10% of attitude change.
Yes.
Instead of, bluntly rejecting the message.
Ma'am, can you give us a few more examples where this extension communication are used mainly? One thing we have discussed about the education and agriculture. To couple of other examples you can.
Other sectors, as we said, healthcare.
Yeah.
Sanitary, healthcare basic sanitation. Then the healthcare sector also, people from the, there are so many hospitals there, corporate hospitals, who can, appoint an officer, field officer at the village level, where, they can come up with some basic research and tell them that, okay, during pandemic also we had so many things. Rural people also, they were well aware of the basic hygiene facilities. Like they were the one who were, who used to have masks all the day, and they used to, wash their hands 5 times a day with hand wash. So there also some proper, why they were so much, why they were following all these norms, because they were aware of the COVID pandemic, corona, the consequences of, the viruses, right?
Yes.
So here also we had several hospitals, several field officers were appointed in the, rural community, rural areas, and people were demonstrated on how to be, how to be hygienic, how to, use the mask, how to dispose of the mask after using it for a certain period of time, right? Even social distancing, how to practice social distancing, all these things. They were field officers. When people were unable to understand, what they used to do is they used to draw some circles, round circles there, and they used to ask them to stand the people leaving so much distance, right? So in various sectors, we have seen, particularly during the pandemic,
pictorial communication.
Yeah, that also was there. We had this frontline people who were, visiting the rural areas, and they were, particularly they were mobilizing the masses. So not to migrate to rural areas, stay wherever they are, and then they had to mobilize people, right? To visual aids, through referral materials, whatever communication was needed, they were, using all those materials, and the selected message were, with a special treatment were disseminated.
So one best example we can give about the coronavirus.
Pandemic, coronavirus you can give for healthcare sector, right? So see, so it is a process of attaining commonness, right? Sharing meanings between participants, and also a process of attaining mutual understanding. They should be able to understand what we want to convey. We can cite many examples in many sectors. Education, we had online, right? ICTs, use of ICTs. Have e-learning. We had classes as we are going on through Zoom platform. That was also very much, common during the pandemic. So this is also one of the area of extension communication, because we are reaching to the masses where there is no access. There is a digital divide. There is a difference between the accessibility, right? The usage, where there is no internet, where there are no laptop facilities. So there you are reaching the masses, and you are teaching them how to use these services, how not to waste their time, and how to utilize the online classes, online resources. So all these things, where you can cite very good examples during the pandemic period for all these things.
Yes, ma'am.
Apart from agriculture, for healthcare and education, you can cite the pandemic as a basic example during the 2020 lockdown period. That is also right.
Yes.
So education, science, and then agriculture, healthcare, and other sectors, right? Other basic sectors. Is it clear?
Yeah, I'm very much okay.
Yeah. The only thing is you have to cite some good examples, some real-time examples. So there are, I'll share with you later, like some websites and those NGOs who are working for this extension communication, and there are some organizations who are also voluntary, working for the rural development. So as far as Gandhian's approach is concerned, so it's of course the practice of non-violence, moral values, right?
Right.
So that you can expand and then you can write. So this was the concept of ideal village which he has imagined, right? The decentralization of power. So that also, yeah, you can cite Gandhian's approach.
This will be an important topic, I suppose.
Yes, that is. So you can elaborate and you can give some examples. Later, I'll see in the last class, if you have time, we'll go about
decentralization of powers and role of Panchayat Raj in rural development. Yeah. Right, ma'am. Okay, thank you. Madam left. Hello? Madhu sir. Rajamalle sir.
Ma'am left, I think.
Yes, sir, ma'am left.
Hello, sir.
Sir, how are you, sir?
Fine, thank you. How do you do, sir?
Doing great, sir. After some time.
Okay. Class over, sir?
Yes, sir. Class is done.
Now 4:30. Next class?
Next class is at 4:30.
Okay. We'll meet you. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Hello?
Sorry, connectivity issue.
Yeah, ma'am.
Madam, I thought because the class.
No. Without informing, I would not have left. So it's clear, right? Extension communication, Gandhian, and the role of NGOs. You can cite some good examples of NGOs. We'll deal with the case studies in the last class if time permits. Okay. Otherwise, we'll have a separate discussion later on.
Okay, ma'am.
So whatever examples are there in the textbooks, that's enough for you.
Sure.
They have given some NGOs, right? Examples of NGOs.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So that you can go through those websites to see how they are functioning, the structure of the NGOs, right? And the latest programs which they have implemented in which villages. You can also go through the CSR activities of some companies like Infosys, Wipro, Tata, right? All these three companies. So they are also doing some commendable job by adopting these villages for CSR activities. So in the major sectors they are dealing the healthcare, education, right?
Yes.
So you can go through these and you can cite as examples. Whenever you have time, just go through these websites and also NGOs.
Definitely.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So you have a class now.
Yeah,
so ma'am's class.
Yeah, this other class at 4:30.
Okay. So I'll not take much of your time now. If you have any doubts, please let me know.
Nothing from my side, ma'am.
Okay. So let's discuss the other topics in the next week class. Okay. We have another 2 classes left. There are 2 classes. So we'll discuss.
Thanks, ma'am.
Welcome. So take care. Bye.